Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another episode of the Yakking Show Business Channel. And this is the channel where we bring you expert guests to give you tips and ideas to help you and your business thrive in the interesting times we seem to be heading in this year of almost the end of the year, 2023. First, let's introduce co-host Kathleen Beauvais. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you so much. And thank you also very much for tuning into our show. We so appreciate having you. And as Peter mentioned, we have another special guest with us today. Today, we are very privileged to have Jaime Chambron on our show. Hello, Jaime. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Now, Jaime is a career advancement and personal branding expert and a former B2B tech executive. So let's just jump right in. So, Jaime, why should business owners and entrepreneurs invest in personal branding?
Yeah. So I think it's really important while an entrepreneur or business owner has their company brand, you still want to get out there and let people know what you really do besides just the business. You might own multiple businesses. You might be a serial entrepreneur, but there's something about what you do for who and the value you provide, a common thread, a common passion that you should be really honing in on to, launch you outside of your business. So people see you as the go-to expert or the trusted advisor. And so that you can start to build things like points of views, thought leadership platforms, but it's really to help get you out there so that people can not just understand your business, but you as an entrepreneur, as a leader, so that people do business with people. And so that's what you're also helping kind of build up, is how people will want to work with you.
Okay. So this is something that used to be common in the entertainment world and celebrity world, where they would employ public relations publicists and that to build their image. This is now being seen to be very useful in the business world, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the spawn of the internet and online media, social media, it's even more important because you really need to control and handle what your personal brand is, because at the end of the day, it's what people think of when you're not in the room. And all the different YouTube to LinkedIn, you've got to keep your image updated and accurate so that people understand what you do for who, and can they get value from you.
Sure. So, Jamie, we've had other people on the show that do similar work, not exactly the same as you. What sets you apart? Tell our audience why you are different and special compared to the
Yeah.
average.
Yeah. So I think it's a mix of, I've spent, my first part of my career in business, either leading different divisions or running my own other businesses. So I know what it's like to, hire vendors, hire people, hire businesses to do work with me. And so I'm looking at it both from I have the credentials in terms of I've gone through resume writing certification or LinkedIn optimization certification, but I also come from like having run a business or been in business, what it takes to impress me with, you really know what you're doing. You're the expert. I want to do business with you. So I'm looking at it from that lens as well.
Good.
So, Jaime, you've developed what is called a career agility system. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so the concept of the system is, I want people to have in place a framework to help them be resilient in their career. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that decide to go back to working for someone. I have people working for someone that decide to become entrepreneurs as well. And so what this framework is to be able to have abundant opportunities, because you are constantly reinventing yourself, getting yourself out there, networking, seeking opportunity, be it working for someone or starting a new business or becoming a partner in another venture, because you're constantly getting your brand out there and you're constantly open and networking and talking to people about opportunities. And so the framework is a way for you to consistently, one, hone in on your brand, but then two, consistently get yourself out there, be it just simple things like reconnecting with old colleagues or business partners, because it's all about your network at the end of the day, and people understanding who you are to easily go, oh, you know what, I know someone to connect you to. They're thinking about doing the same thing. Or, have you thought about this in terms of growing your business further? So I just think that the system is just approached to stay resilient in one's career because you have abundance of opportunities in front of you.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good idea, because I think those of us who leave the corporate world that I left many years ago and go on our own, we tend to think that's the only option we ever have again, right? Unless you're forced by circumstances to go back. So to put it in your strategy and plan as a possibility, yeah, that's a good approach. Excellent. So I got one for you. A lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are introverted, and that helps them be creative and helps them invent things and systems, and it works against them when they're trying to do what you're saying they must do. So how do you persuade? And I was exactly like that, having had many career choices and then farming for a number of years before I got onto the internet. The last thing I wanted to do was put myself out there, right? And I know I'm not alone. So how do you persuade introverted business owners they really need to publicize themselves and build their brand?
Yeah. So I first think about, what can I do for my own home that's really easy? And this is why I love the LinkedIn platform, because it's easy for someone. You don't need to actually go pick up the phone. You don't need to have a Zoom call. You don't even need to go to an event. You can just look at who's your ideal target audience or people you want to connect with, and just send them a message over LinkedIn or invite them to join your network. So I think that's the easiest thing for someone who's introverted, is to use LinkedIn to build and grow their network, and then to take it a step further of like, okay, well, maybe it's a one-on-one Zoom, or maybe it's a one-on-one coffee, but doing things that are more intimate than having to go out to a big networking event. Now, for introverts, I'd also say, if you are going out to a big networking event, like, go get out there, bring a friend, and set goals for yourself. So make sure you have in the back of your mind, back to that, you've got to have a system in place. Is your goal to collect 3 business cards, and to have, prepped how you're going to pitch yourself, how you're going to introduce yourself, but really more, what questions you're going to ask the other person. Like, you shouldn't be talking about yourself. You should be getting to know the other person. So it's almost coming with a script, if you will, of like how to get through the event, and just make it a goal. Like, once I meet 3 new people and get their business cards, I at least did what I wanted to do. If I happen to meet more, great. But just like having some goals in place, having a buddy to come along as well, just helping, break the ice, and get out there. I know it's hard for introverts, but it's, just got to take baby steps.
And I just thought of another question with respect to personal branding. If you're out to create an image for yourself, I would think that it would be possibly personal brand suicide by bringing up any personal opinions or anything controversial. Would you agree with that? Or do you promote that? Do you tell people to speak their minds and give their personal opinion, even though it may be controversial?
So it's partly dependent on what is the person in business for, and do they want that controversy? Like, is that part of their brand and they want to be known for? And then that's the kind of, you're basically fully transparent of what this person is going to be like to work with or interact with. So I think it's just really, does it help or hurt their end business game, and kind of figuring out, do we talk about this or not in their conversation? Because I usually go on from working on brand to then, what's your talk track and your ongoing engagement strategy in terms of points of view. And maybe it is controversial. Maybe that's how you end up getting like 1 million followers, because you're out there speaking your mind. So again, it really depends on the business and the person, and if it makes sense to go that route.
I see. So you created and I'm so impressed by this, a multi-million-dollar business that grew 30% in 1 year. How did you make that happen?
Yeah. I was just uncovering an unmet need in education technology space. It kind of blew my mind how unautomated and manual, even a decade ago, higher education was in terms of processing documents, all the transcripts and things you have to do to like admit a student or to manage them. Just, it was a lot of chaos and things being lost. And so just simple integrations and automations, because it was an unmet need. They didn't know how to do it because you've got a lot of staff too that really haven't kept up with the times. And so again, it's just uncovering an opportunity, finding the talent to go. Then that's because it was services. So finding the talent to go do it and deliver it to grow that business that fast.
Wow. That is amazing. That's incredible. So for the small business owners and entrepreneurs who are listening to you right now, we look like we're going into turbulent times with interest rates, inflation, all sorts of political problems, wars overseas. It's certainly interesting. Is there one thing that you would suggest small business owners and entrepreneurs think about and concentrate on right now to help them prepare for these times?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is, two come to mind: nest egg and diversify. So like make sure you have your 6 months of expenses between your business and your living in place. And then secondly, what's the next business idea? What's the next thing that maybe would take off even more going into, say, 2024 is a very turbulent year? What should you change about your business, or what should you add so that you can diversify, what you've been selling today? Is there something else, or do you need to go create a different business because you've had a burning passion for a while? Or create, a knowledge, something easy, take your knowledge and produce it into a course online. What can you do to diversify just so that you can seize opportunity, right? There's so turbulent times, there'll be opportunity, but just to make sure if your current business isn't going to be successful in a turbulent environment, pivot now, figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good advice. That certainly makes sense.
So tell us about the services you provide.
Yeah. So obviously I do personal branding work. And so what that entails is really helping individuals unlock what they do for who and the value they provide. I like to say I make the intangible tangible. And then I translate that into materials like LinkedIn profiles, other social media profiles, for people getting ready to look for a job or going back to corporate, resumes. And then from there, what I do is the career agility system I've bundled into a career advancement program. So for people who are trying to figure out like their mid-career and going, I'm done with this career, what's next? And so I have a lot of people that go through that program to become entrepreneurs or to like change industries completely or change their responsibilities completely, is I help them really hone in on where do they see themselves in 20 years from now in terms of lifestyle and where they're going and what they want in terms of their career and what they want to have an impact on, to then figure out, well, what's that roadmap to get there and to get them moving into the direction of either launching their own business, launching a side hustle to then have a full-time business owner, or to move into a different kind of career. And then the last thing that I do is for the clients who want to be seen as thought leaders and experts in their industry, is I help them. I do a Launching You as a Thought Leader program. And so I help them figure out what their platform is and their different talk tracks, and then to come up with a content calendar and then ways to get them, on podcasts like yours, or other speaking engagements and opportunities, just to get them, out on LinkedIn, out visible in the marketplace, so that they are seen as the expert in whatever their business is and where they want to go next.
So if I were to pick up the phone and give you a call and say, I would like some help with my personal branding, where do you start with a client like that? How do you get that ball rolling with them?
So the foundational piece is a workbook I've developed I've been doing this now for almost 6 years. That is a series of assessments and questions to help me really dig in and understand what are their strengths, what are their differentiators, what's the value that they deliver, be it themselves or their businesses, and what are they leaning into, who's there for a business owner, who's their target audience, what are the pain points of their target audience, and then to figure out, okay, how do we thread this all together in terms of the brand promise, what you do for who and the value you provide, and the 3 or 5 pillars that really help that individual to stand that individual up based on patterns of success or aspirational goals, or a number of different areas. But it's really me digging in with the client, be it live or they go through a lot of self-reflection through this workbook, to really hone in on those strengths and differentiators and what they do.
Okay, very good. So what have you found in the nearly 3 years since the lockdown and the great work at home thing happened. I know from people we've spoken to, a lot of people who were able to work from home liked what they were doing and set up side hustles or little business of their own. And speaking to others who have now been called back to the office, they don't want to go back to the office. So
Right.
it's been a huge upheaval.
Mhm.
What are you seeing? How is this settling down? Are some of the entrepreneurs going back to corporate? I think they may be, from what you said earlier.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
more.
It's so I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag all over the
Hmm.
place. So like I know the trends of like what companies are laying off right now because I get that. I get like waves of certain companies going, oh, well, they must have just done a riff. So you've got, and those people often are like, well, I've never been laid off before, and maybe I was at this company for 20 something years. Maybe I should go start a business or work for myself or do something different. So I have people like that coming through. I do have entrepreneurs that are just at a point of after doing this gig freelance, and a lot of it's, I'd say, more on the freelance end. They've been doing it for like 15 years and like, you know what, I don't want to sell. They don't want to do everything anymore. It's like I'm tired of
Hmm.
not just delivering, my expertise. I'm tired of selling myself, marketing myself, doing all the other things because they've been more of a solo entrepreneur, that they're wanting to go back into a corporate setting and let them focus on what they're really talented at and let everyone else do the other roles and responsibilities. They really, then I think these are the individuals who, because this is still a gig economy, like definitely there is more opportunity. I think businesses are also hiring more freelance talent versus hiring employees.
Hmm.
So I think people were able to thrive over the last few years in getting contract to contract to contract. But I think for some people, it's wearing on them because that's not their expertise, and they weren't really planning to grow an enterprise, like have a staff
Hmm.
of 50. So I think those are the people that I see going back, not the ones who've built really big businesses.
Sure.
It's hit or miss. And then again, there's people who are like, I'm ready to start my own thing. How do I start it? How do you take your expertise and knowledge, start it as a side hustle, get yourself out there, get the ball rolling? Like I have a lot of people, especially if they're more freelancing, I have them get used to a platform called Upwork because that's a huge freelancer
Hmm.
platform.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and most people have never heard of it if you've been employed in corporate for 20 something years. So those are the things I
Sure.
help with but it is definitely a mixed bag right now, just because people are tired of like one or the other, and it's always like the grass is greener on the other side.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So is the we read a lot in the media about pushback about going back to the office. Is that still significant, or have people largely got over it now?
A lot of people are adamant when they come to get a resume done. It's like, I only want remote work. A lot of people, I
Okay.
think the last 3 years is still, there are some people that really want an office setting, even just like once or twice a week. I'll have a few of those, but the
Hmm.
majority work from home. Like, and it's sad
Right.
because you've got teachers now. They're like, well, if my friend went and started to do remote work online for a different university, I've seen tons of teachers come through that are ready to be done being in the classroom setting every day.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Can understand that. Wow.
Hmm.
Changing world, isn't it? Eh?
It is a changing role because it seems like the social aspect of work is also, well, that's almost, if that's doesn't exist anymore if people are just working remotely. So that's an interesting, from a psychological standpoint, it's interesting to me that, people are wanting to be alone in their home working remotely rather than
Yeah.
surrounded by people, and the little chatter at the at the water cooler kind of, yeah, it's interesting.
And I think COVID made a lot of people realize you can be more like if you're about productivity, you're more productive when you're remote and you don't have the distractions. Now, I've been in fully remote environments, and we just have to get creative as leaders, and same for business owners, thinking about like if you're a fully remote environment, like we created like Friday socials, and we'd play an
Mhm.
online game to get the team to all interact and talk to each other. Even global team, we'd have it at a certain time that like the people in Europe can be on with the folks in the US and Canada. So it's so you have to be intentional of creating virtual water cooler experiences, if you will,
Mhm.
to like get the team to connect, or if they're in the local area, go grab coffee with the team or lunch or something, just to have connection besides just like the day-to-day productivity work.
Hmm, good.
Yeah, That's interesting. So here's one for you. We ask all our successful guests what I call my burning question, and that is, do you think there's one mindset or characteristic or habit perhaps that sets successful business leaders and business owners apart from those who never really rise above average, or is it more complicated than that?
I think there's a lot of habits and mindset items, but I'd say, like, even looking at how I operate, I have a very regimen structure to my day and week and how I manage
Hmm.
my activities and backlog. So I'd say time management is huge,
Yeah.
to not get sucked into the unimportant things to do. It's the whole, like, work on your big rocks, and then if you have time for the other things. So I think just like being very mindful of your time, because it's, unless you want to be consumed by your business and work 80 hours, you really need to be smart on how you allocate your time so that you have, while you're probably working for yourself or started a business, was to have more of that free time, right? To spend with family, to be more flexible. So just time management, I think, is because it relates to, getting up early. It relates to resilience, just,
Hmm.
staying within a structure so that nothing kind of throws you off in your day.
Right.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Mhm.
It's interesting that we've asked that question now of, I guess, over 200 guests, and no one has said get an MBA or get a better degree or go to a better university.
Right.
It's all the soft skills, very focus, perseverance, and time management that you've mentioned. It's all a very narrow band of mindsets. Interesting that you've confirmed that. Thank you very much for that. That's good.
You got it.
Kathleen?
You got it.
So, Jamie, just to confirm, do you work with people from all over the world with respect to your personal branding coaching?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've had clients in the UK, New Zealand, you name it. I mean, predominantly it's US, and then a good number out of Canada as well. But it's a global business. I'll meet with people from all over if they're interested in having me help them with their brand.
Hmm.
Excellent. So,
So that we got a bit of time. That's prompted another question for me. Do you see big cultural differences in business culture between North America and Europe or Australia, for instance?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, just to kind of highlight that a little bit more. Like, there's still, so back to the remote work, there's definitely, a lot of countries are embracing the remote work.
Hmm.
I think some more than others. I'd say the US is probably on the lead of that, though, because I think a lot of the people that I've worked with abroad, they've been going back to the office for a while now.
Hmm.
So I think the US is more enabling the remote workforce. Also, I think what I'm seeing too is a lot of, now, because it's remote, people from anywhere, around the world can work for a US company,
That's right.
visas aside, right? It just, or freelance for them. So it's easier for people in New Zealand, in Scandinavia, wherever, to actually go work for anyone, or an American to go, see the world
Would
and take their job with them, is, what a lot of people are doing too, who aren't tied down to a location or family or things of that nature. So it's just giving people more flexibility and opening up way more opportunity that goes outside their country boundaries.
Right. What I really would like your opinion on, you can hear from my accent, I'm not a long-term North American. I spent most of my life in Africa, but born in Britain and educated in a very British-oriented school in a country called Rhodesia, and brought up in the British stiff upper lip, you never promote yourself tradition. So when you're working with British business owners to build their brand, do you find a certain reticence about getting out there and blowing their own trumpet, or not, or is it just in my imagination?
No, I definitely, and it's also harder for them to take a step back to really hone in on what is their brand, like what is it that they really do. They're just used to running their business and doing business with others, because business is still built on networking and connecting with people. They really never really step back to go, well, why are people working with me? Like, why do people want to buy from me? That's the ultimate question we have to answer, is why have you been successful to date? And it's digging into that to then go, well, this is who you are. This is why people buy from you.
Good. Good.
Excellent.
No, thank you for that. Good. Back to you, Kathleen.
How do people contact you?
Yeah, so the easiest thing is, because I really like LinkedIn, is to find me on LinkedIn. I'm in / and it's my last name, Chambron, Chambron. Connect with me there, message me there. You can also email me at Jaime, Jaime, at careeragilitysystem.com.
Excellent.
Okay. And for our audio listeners, those details will be in the description on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And before I go, you've heard and seen another really interesting guest today who's had lots of good business tips for you. So to make sure you don't miss out on future guests, hop onto our website, theyackingshow.com, find one of the forms, sign up for our newsletter. We only send you one a week. We don't flood you with emails. And then you'll know who's coming on in all the following weeks. That's it from me. Thank you very much, Jamie, and goodbye to the audience.
And thank you so much, Jamie,
Kathleen,
once
back to you.
again. And thank you all so very much for tuning into our show. And if anyone is interested in being a guest on our show, we invite you to visit us at theyakkingshow.com. All you need to do is click on the Contacts tab, where you will find a short application form, and we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.